Hey, it's Aaron, and today I'm with a 2022 Chrysler Pacifica. The Pacifica is Chrysler's minivan, replaced the Town & Country and the Dodge equivalent. It is also known as the Voyager. That's the very low-end model. So that's basically the base model. And then after that you have four trim levels. This is the limited trim, which is just below the aptly named Pinnacle trim. So anyway, this is the standard V6 model with all-wheel drive. It's the only way you can get all-wheel drive is if you go with the standard model. The plug-in hybrid does not have that. Not much has changed. This came out in about 2017. Really hasn't changed a whole lot, and to be really honest, hasn't really had to. Most of the competing minivans have upgraded since this did, and all of them are kind of fighting to be equal to or better than this, and only a couple of them are really getting to that point. This is a phenomenally done minivan that really changed the segment, made it competitive again for one thing, and also shows why Chrysler, Dodge, etc. has dominated minivans for a very long time, decades. Anyway, changes this year are pretty minimal. They added Amazon connectivity to the entertainment system if you get that package for the back seats. Other than that, nothing else changes from last year. This is a wonderful minivan. Now there are a couple of downsides to it. We'll get to those, but first let's talk about the design. So from the side here you can see the profile of the I wanted to call it a Voyager right there. Anyway, of the Pacifica. Dodge, Chrysler, whatever, they did not make any bones about this being a minivan. It's not trying to pretend to be anything else. It's not trying to look like an SUV. It's not trying to look like a car that happens to have a sliding door. It's not trying to look like anything but what it is. And I very much applaud that. A lot of minivans are trying to look like crossovers instead, and sometimes they pull that off, sometimes not so much. But in this case, they just embraced the fact that this is a people mover. This is a family van. This is made to move you and your kids and all your stuff wherever it is you want to go, and I totally think that is awesome. So if I walk into the picture, you get kind of an idea of the scale. It is big because, of course, it seats a lot of people. This has 3 across in the back or third row, 2 in the middle, but you can get a middle bench or an insert that makes a bench for the middle row if you need to, and then 2 up front. The back row is human accessible. Any of us can get in there unless you are extremely big and tall. Now there is going to be legroom issues if you're my size at 6'3". Yes, it is kind of a bummer to be sitting back there, but not as terrible as you'd think. We'll look at a little bit of that, and I'll get more into that in a minute when we talk about the interior. Also, every seat in there up to here, except for the front row, of course, folds completely into the floor and flat so that you have that entire thing as a loading area. We'll also talk about that because that is sweet. Also want to point out, I did mention fuel economy earlier, I think. I mentioned downers for this. Fuel economy is not the best in this, but I will point out that out of all the minivans I've driven, and I've driven all of them, this is the only one that feels muscular. It's still a Dodge product when you boil it down, and what that means is the engine growls. It doesn't hesitate to downshift and go somewhere. It drives very, very well, and it is extremely nimble. Now you're not going to be doing the Nuremberg or some other thing in this. You know, that's not really realistic. Although I'm sure somebody out there has at least tried. But it does mean that you can, because of the turning radius, which is very, very tight, you can actually make a U-turn in a 2-lane road. So in your neighborhood, you can make a U-turn without having to back up. It also means that it's very easy to maneuver into parking. Now this particular model has the self-parking feature. I have a couple things to say about that, and I might as well just say them now. It's very good at parallel parking. It's beauty for that. It's great. For this kind of perpendicular parking, not so much. It tends to hug the driver's side line. It tends to be parked over. And that's the side you're going to be getting out of. That makes no sense. So You know, hit and miss right there, but honestly, it's got the 360-degree view camera. You really don't need the self-parking for a spot like this. Maybe for parallel, because maybe you're not that great at that. But also, visibility, I should point that out, is really good in this. Now, the visibility through the rear view to the back, not so good. It's a big tunnel, and as far as I can tell, there is no camera in this. I wish they would integrate that. A lot of other companies have been pulling that out of the hat. That's great for big vehicles like this, but side mirrors are huge, and visibility out the windows is very good. So you have really good visibility for the most part, and it's, like I said, it's really maneuverable. It's easy to park. The corners are small. You can see the distance between the tires back there. It makes it easy to park. Now, I promised to talk about design, and I haven't done that. Usually I've done that by now. Anyway, very flowing, and like I said, they embrace the minivan look. So relatively long hood, considering some of the others on the market. Pretty long hood, round in the front rather than square. They're not trying to be a crossover or a truck. And then the body lines are pretty simple. There's a round line that runs the entirety. Starts up here ahead of the headlight and runs like this, creating this fender right here. Runs under this and comes along here to create the belt line, right? It's about 3 fingers wide. Runs along there, comes up, and then back across the top of the greenhouse, back down to here and around. And then because of this visual break with the mirror here, it creates kind of a curved back and rejoins this line. Pretty neat look. Then there's this crease here that runs through the door handles and comes across here, creating that rear fender. This crease gives it kind of an upscale feel because, again, it runs through the door handles and the rear filler, so the filler door. So that's kind of that used to be a real upscale moniker. Like, that was a way to say your car was upscale when you did things like that, because it makes the fitment of this a lot harder. But they pulled that off, and then down here you can see the running board cut and a slight gentle curve right here, light shelf right here between these two, and then the curve of the roof is very simple, and again, not making any bones about being a minivan. It just runs across, and there you go. This has roof rails. These can be functional roof rails if you buy the crossbars for it. This has the panoramic sunroof, so the glass roof that goes all the way back. The sunroof portion opens, but only in the very front. Yeah, and then get a load of the wheels. This particular package with this kind of a slate gray and the blackened wheels and all the other cool black trim points and stuff is really good looking on this. I really, really like it. Some people don't. I don't know why, but you know, whatever. Different strokes, different folks. And then a pretty straightforward, almost racing style hood. It's got a dip in the middle, and right here, like it's going to have airflow up here. Really nice looking and really well done. Let's go look at the back end there, the working end, and then we'll talk about the interior. I'll climb around in the seats and stuff, and we'll check everything out. All right, here we are at the back end of the Pacifica. You can see the S is the sport model. That's where a lot of this blackout is coming from. This is the limited edition and all-wheel drive. You can see the design back here is pretty simplistic and very well done. So you have this simple, right, just a little spoiler here, simply comes down and goes down. Again, no bones about this being a minivan. The hatch back here is a little bit SUV-like, but that's just because there have to be similarities. But honestly, they are just not playing around with the fact that they're not trying to make it look like something else. I really, really like that. I can't emphasize it enough. Now, disappointingly, one thing that was overlooked, the glass doesn't open. See? I felt all around under there trying to find an opening. Nothing. That's a little oversight. I like it when the glass opens separate from the hatch so that you can load things differently. But the hatch in this particular one is automated. And then you can see the interior here. So we're looking at I have the second two rows down, or the third row down and stowed. These come up, and that leaves a tub under here. I'll show you how that works in a minute, but I just want to show you how fairly flat this is. This is a easy loading floor. It's pretty flat. It's a nice setup. Now, something that is fairly unique to this minivan, if you fold those seats down, you can get a full sheet of plywood in here, 4x8 sheet of plywood, and then close that. So it fits entirely in there. This also has a built-in vacuum over there, and yeah. So I'll show you the stow and go on those seats when we go around that side. First, I want to show you how these work. These in this limited package are automated. In other packages you have to manually pull them down, but it's very easy to do. I've done it in several models now. So let's see, I'll move the camera so we can see the buttons and I'll show you what I'm doing. So these buttons here control the seating. This chooses left, right, or both. So in the middle it's both, down here it's left, or left, and up here is right, left, right, left. Yeah, you get the idea. And then this is where you tell it what you want to do. So if you want the seat to go up, I'll move this one. So we choose the right seat, we say I want normal, and you go. Now if at any time you need to stop this, maybe a kid's getting in the way, your dog jumped in the car, you just hit the button again and it stops. And when you push it one more time, maybe, there we go, it will continue. Now you saw the seatbelt catch, no big deal. Now it's deploying the seat, top's coming up, and then all you have to do manually is the headrest itself. So very cool setup. Now, so if you want just this to stow, but you don't want it to go in here, which is what we did this weekend. We had our family on a little road trip, coming back from one. Actually, we picked this up at the airport, and we had tons of luggage. We were literally gone for a week. We had a week's worth of luggage for 6 people stacked in here, and we had to have 6 people in the car, so that seat had to be up. So we just had this folded flat, we had luggage stacked on it, and then we had this tub filled all the way to the brim. So if you want this down, you push stow, which I actually did that wrong. That's when you want it to go back in. Okay, you don't push stow, you push forward. I'll show it to you. I'll probably cut it so I don't look like a moron, but I may not, because part of this channel is me looking like a moron. So we deploy the seat, put it back up, pushes the seatbelt as it is wont to do. The picture of that is to do that, by the way. Okay, seat is up. Now, I want to just fold it forward. This one you have to hold. I forgot about that. Because at first I thought you had to hold all of them the whole time. I didn't realize that you could just push it and walk off. So there you go with that. That's basically the back seats back here. Now I'm going to put this one back up because when I get in and show you the third row, I'll be sitting in that seat. So there you go. A couple other features back here. You have some grocery hooks here, and also on this side there's 2 more. You have a little storage back down there. I mentioned the vacuum up there. You also have a USB-C and USB-A plug on this side, but not that one. So, excuse me, and then a 12-volt plug right here. So you have lots of little things back here that just make life easy. Let's go look at the middle row. So here you can see I am in the second row. The seats are pretty comfortable. I have tons of leg room here. This is set for me at 6'3", so lots of leg room right here. The seat itself is adjustable a little bit, so you can lean back, straighten it out, whatever you want. It does not, however, slide back and forth. There's a reason for that. I'll show you that in a minute. There's also a couple of grocery hooks back here to hang grocery bags from. This one has the entertainment system. The entertainment system works together on a network. It can also work with the front screen, so you can control some things up there, like if you want to play a movie or something. There is an auxiliary HDMI and USB-C plug there, and also on that side. These can be separate or together. People back here can play games with each other, like checkers, I Spy, that kind of stuff, which is pretty cool. Watch a movie. You can plug in a device to stream a movie. The car has network, right? You can set up a network in the car. And then also, just as a new thing this year, they added Amazon, so you can like stream from Amazon Prime, that kind of thing. You just have to link your Amazon account and have some sort of internet connection in the car. You can use like a phone for a hotspot, or you can pay for the package in the car to do it. So really cool. Now, a couple things. I want to show you how these stow, and then I'll show you that third row back there. So let me stow this seat, show you how that works. So if I want that seat in the floor, grab this little handle and pull up. That opens this, it gets out of the way right there. Then you grab the stow and go lever, push the seat all the way down in, you'll feel it latch, get your stuff out of the way, drop this back down, it's now flat. That is really cool because again, it leaves you a flat floor, mostly flat, and also it's totally out of the way. If I want to load something in and out here, I can also put that one away. One thing to remember, the armrests always have to be all the way up, and your seat belt needs to be not hooked on the armrest. It needs to be pushed away. But this is very cool. Also makes cleaning the back easier. You do have this built-in vacuum, and you empty it right here. And to get back in the very back to clean, this makes stowing the seat makes it a lot easier. Let's have a look at that third row. So I'm going to leave that seat stowed just for illustration purposes so that you can see. You won't be able to see very well if that seat's in the way. Suffice it to say, despite my size, I can actually go between the seats to get in the third row. It's just a little bit of a, I don't know, it's not quite yoga, but it's getting there. So anyway, climb in, walk through, and sit. Now, amazingly, I have leg room, lots of it. I can put my feet wherever I want. There would be empty space here most of the time when I get my shins on. Lots of leg room, pretty good shoulder room. I have an armrest right here, drink holders, place to put a couple things, and the plugs I talked about before. Now, let me get this. My kids have a habit of hooking seat belts onto the armrest. So this button here allows me to adjust my seat. So you can see I can go up and down. So there's seat adjustment back here, which is nuts. Also, on the side of the seat here, you can pull a lever to push the seat forward out of the way so that you can get in and out a little bit easier. Really neat setup. I really like this third row. It's one of the best third rows I've seen. It's got its own built-in shades that are pretty okay. There's a big gap right here that's left, but they're better than nothing. The second row, of course, also has those shades. There's three zone climate. Normally you just run the back as one zone, but you can do separate zone back here if you want, so you could turn off these vents up here and on the floor. There are floor vents down here. Really well done. Just one of the best interiors. You can see I have headroom in the third row. This is, like I said, one of the only adult usable third rows I've seen in any vehicle. So kudos to Chrysler for pulling that off. I realize this video is going pretty long, but there's a lot to cover. This is a big vehicle, and it has tons of features. So up front, the setup is pretty straightforward. If you're used to Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep vehicles, you know where everything is in here right now. On the back of the steering wheel are pedals for stations on this side and tracks, whatever, and volume on this side. You have your cruise control stuff over here. This has adaptive cruise. You have your telephone stuff, telematics, telephone stuff down here, voice recognition prompt there. It's still kind of a slower system, but it's not bad. It's not nearly as clunky as it had been in the past. Then you have the driver information stuff here. You have easy controls for pretty much everything. Nice big infotainment that's very quick. You have a physical gauge cluster, so those are physical gauges in there, and then the driver information screen is a big thing in the middle. You have a good rear view back here when you don't have a lot of stuff in the back, and just big, nice, comfortable seating. And in this limited package, you have the Harman Kardon stereo, which is baller. Yeah, I'm old, but I'm going to say that anyway. It's baller. It's fire. Anyway, I'm not going to go that far. I'm a little too old to say that kind of thing, right? So anyway, there you go. Nice interior. Let's talk about price tags. Looking at the Monroney for this, fully loaded as it is with the shipping and everything, it's $57,552, which actually is not that bad. Base price for this is $51,545 before you add a bunch of extras and the shipping cost. The Uconnect Theater, which is the back-end for entertainment system, is the most expensive at $2,500. Honestly, in today's age, if you don't have very small kids, you probably don't need that stuff back there. Your kids probably already have tablets and other devices. You can get things that sling over the seat to hold them in place, and they can do their thing as they normally would without yet another device added on. So that one is, I wouldn't bother unless you have very small kids that aren't going to be able to do that sort of thing, or you know, you just want to show off. I don't know why else you would buy it. The S Appearance package is $1,500, but that adds all the cool looks that this thing has in this particular setup. So if you're buying it in this color in this way, that's probably the way to go. That official color, by the way, is ceramic gray clear coat. That's a cool. I mean, holy crap. Anyway, 3.6 liter Pentastar, 9-speed automatic. So I talked about fuel economy before. This is only rated at 25 on the highway. My highway test doing a loop was a little better than that. It was about 25.5. So I didn't do too bad. But I will say that this, out of all the minivans I've driven, is the least likely to ever feel underpowered. It always feels like it can go. It always sounds really good doing it. Which is kind of amazing because, I mean, it's just a minivan, right? But it drives really well. So that's a huge kudos. So low fuel economy versus feeling like you may not be able to make that on-ramp, I think I'll take the low fuel economy. Anyway, I know that's probably not popular, but whatever. I will also say that if you can afford it, that's a big caveat, the plug-in hybrid version of this, if you don't need that big cargo space back there all the time, so you don't need to put sheets of plywood in it, really? Because when you get the plug-in hybrid, you do not, the rear seats, the middle row does not go into the floor anymore because that's where the batteries are. Also, if you get the hybrid, you cannot have all-wheel drive. So if you don't need those two things, then the plug-in hybrid is definitely the way to go because it drives just as well, feels just as powerful, sounds just as good, but you get way better fuel economy. So, in fact, most of your around town driving will be all electric, so it'll cost you next to nothing. So, you know, if you have the choice. All right, there you have it. 2022 Chrysler Pacifica. Still one of the best minivans on the market, probably the best in many, many ways, including third row access and third row accommodation, and in the fact that it's the only one on the market where all the seats stow into the floor, assuming you get the gas model. Wonderful, wonderful minivan, very maneuverable, drives really well, sounds really good. It's just surprisingly great for being as old as it is. At this point, this is, what, a 5 or 6 year old design? So yeah, this is a very competitive minivan, and again, probably my favorite on the market for all the minivans available. Although it could be kind of a close shave because I really do like the Kia Carnival. So anyway, there you go. That's what I got. This has been Aaron, 2022 Chrysler Pacifica. Talk to you again soon. Subscribe.